With you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus came to Capernaum with his followers, and on the Sabbath he entered the synagogue and taught. The people were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes. In their synagogue was a man with an unclean spirit. He cried out, "What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know you who you are, the Holy One of God." Jesus rebuked him and said, "Quiet, come out of him." The unclean spirit convulsed him, and with a loud cry came out of him. All were amazed and asked one another, "What is this? A new teaching with authority. He commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him." His fame spread everywhere throughout the whole region of Galilee. The Gospel of the Lord. So, God made a solemn pronouncement. And the solemn pronouncement is that one like us, who is the Son of Man and at the same time Son of God, will take everyone back to God, will solemnly, through his suffering, through his obedience, through his paschal mystery, die for us and taste death on our behalf, and through dying for us, he'll give us life, the life that we lost through Adam and Eve. And so, God made his only precious Son little less than angels, because angels are higher than humanity in a sense. So God made his Son little less than angels in order to redeem us. He did that for a while. It is fitting for him to do that. It is appropriate for him to do that. In our own understanding, how does God, the creator of the universe, the one through whom everything exists, the one who created everything in the first place, the wisdom of God, who sits by the Father at the beginning of creation, now to be lower in esteem, to be lower in status? Because God made all things perfect. Not our form of perfection, but the perfection which is true perfection. And true perfection is this: that God himself decided that Jesus will take to himself human flesh, the human flesh that has fallen by sin, the human self, the human flesh that has been broken through sin. He will take it unto himself in order to perfect that humanity, and perfecting it on the cross by suffering and dying, perfecting it so that through his death, every person who is baptized in Jesus will pass through death but restored to life. So, Jesus had to be obedient to the Father, take human flesh, suffer death, taste death on our behalf, the death that Adam brought our way, but in order to restore us to life. It's the beauty of what God did, and that's why he calls it perfect. The one who created the whole universe suffered. He suffered in order that you and I will see the glory of suffering, the positive of suffering, the value of suffering, the meritorious nature of suffering. From that day henceforth, suffering has a noble dimension if it is united with the death of Christ. That's why, 14 many years ago, we'll talk about so many wasted suffering in the world. John Paul II, we always talk about wasted suffering in the world. Especially when we live in a world where pain is not tolerated, where suffering is not tolerated, where we numb everything, and anesthesia is everywhere, you just numb and numb and numb and numb and numb. Oh, he is suffering, oh, she is suffering, people say. When someone is sick and they say, oh, he's suffering, let him just go to the place where there's no more pain. If those pain are not utilized in union with the pain and the suffering of Jesus Christ, it becomes wasted suffering. But if you have pain, if you have inconveniences, if you have persecutions, if you have stress, if you have all that, and we unite them, bodily pain, spiritual pain, isolation, fear, and everything, and we unite them with the death and suffering of Jesus, then it has merits. Not to just numb and numb and numb pain and numb pain, and then it's wasted. Jesus had to become victim before he became victor. But we all want to win, but we don't want victimhood. That is victimhood. We must embrace that victimhood. In all accounts, in all details, it's difficult, but the first blow is the one that is difficult. After that, the most joyful people in the world are not those who never encountered persecutions or temptations. No, they're not. The most joyful people are the ones who are able, despite and in spite of everything that has been dealt to them, are able to unite that with that meritorious suffering that Jesus did for us and suffered for us. And that's why Jesus lived in truth his teaching. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. He lived it in truth. He did not say it as words. And that's why in the gospel they saw him as one who taught with authority. Because every word that comes from his mouth, he lived it out. And that's why, it was not difficult for the demon to recognize him. The demon was able to recognize, and he called him Jesus of Nazareth. When Jesus died on the cross, Jesus Nazareth, Rex Israel, Jesus of Nazareth, King of Israel, is the title that was put by Pilate. So even before that recognition, the man with unclean spirit can recognize Jesus for who he is, his authority, and his being God. And Jesus rebuked him. Come out of him, keep quiet. Come out of him, be quiet. A recognition every day when we live our lives. Even holiness is recognized even by the Satan. It's easy. You recognize the authority of God in holiness. But we must not be afraid, because the Lord has already overcome Satan. He is always fighting a lost battle. When he reminds us of our fallenness, of our brokenness, of our sinfulness, St. Teresa of Avila says, remind him of his future, because the future of the evil one is doom. If he reminds you of your past, remind him of his future. If he reminds you of your past, tell him that everything has been crucified on the cross. That is victory over him. Brothers and sisters, let us not deny the sufferings that come our way. Let us not deny the inconveniences that come our way. Let us accept them as a golden opportunity for us to move in the path of Jesus. Let us take them as golden opportunities to humble ourselves, to really feel our humanity and offer it for the souls in purgatory, for the conversion of sinners, for the deformed, for the blind, for those who are blind to sin, for those who are lost in the world and the terrible sin of the world, to offer them up. That is evangelization. That is the path through which God, through us, will be saving the world and helping to reclaim the world to himself. Let us rise and pray. Brothers and sisters,